Hey guys, welcome to Nerdarchy, for nerds by nerds. I'm Ted. Today hanging out with
Scott Garibay.
Nerdarchy Steve.
And today we're going to talk about Mouse Guard, the role-playing game.
Remember the Nerdarchy newsletter. It's a great way to learn how to game, great tips for gaming, and also how to learn how to game with the Nerdarchy crew.
All right. So Scott, you're...
Yeah, it is. You're absolutely right. Yeah.
So Scott, this is something you're sharing
so
with us.
This represents two loves of Scott Garibay. One is tabletop role-playing games, and two is comic books. Exactly. So Mouse Guard is an indie comic. It's a fantastic comic book. It's well over 10 years old now, and actually it's getting there, maybe 8 or 9. And it was made by David Petersen, and so it's beautifully drawn, and it is essentially it's Dungeons and Dragons with mice.
All right. So this has nothing to do with Redwall?
Yeah, a lot of people say that, right?
Because my wife has got, however many books are in that series. She's read through them, and that was my initial thought, because it's like, oh well, it's mice with swords, so is that this? And apparently it
is not at all.
Nerdarchy fun fact, right? I believe Nerdarchy Ryan, when he lived in Albuquerque, New Mexico, he belonged to a comic book club, or maybe it was even when he was in Philadelphia before he went out to Albuquerque. And I believe Mouse Guard was one of the graphic novels or comic books that they actually did.
Yeah, I mean it's extremely well regarded, and it is fantastic, and it's not Redwall at all.
Okay.
And one of the nice things about that is Redwall is great, but one of the things is it's aged, and it was written for some people would say it was written for kids. Mouse Guard is a pure indie comic.
Okay.
And it is extremely well drawn and extremely well written. So if you like fantasy stories, I highly recommend Mouse Guard. And because it's old now, actually it's between 8 and 10 years old. There's really good, actually not expensive hardback books which represent the original content in beautiful art and really fantastic, and great fantasy stories.
All right, so how does Mouse Guard differ from say D&D, besides, all right, your race is mouse?
Right. Yeah.
I did see one thing in there that is probably going to make a lot of people angry.
Go ahead.
Custom dice.
Custom dice.
Yeah, actually. So it is one. It is centered around cities.
Okay.
So the world is very small. So because mice are actually so small, they set up scent borders, right? So you are not really in it. So in this, you play the Mouse Guard, and so you are the guards of mice cities. And basically, what they do is they set up scent borders, and so they send out patrols to put the scents of large predators around their city to protect them. And so they literally spend their lives protecting these towns. And so these are really the stories of towns and the stories of people and bakers and cartographers, all who are mice within these city walls. And every now and then they'll go out, but when they go out to do an adventure, it's not, this game really fights murder hobos, because you always have a reason for going out on your adventures, and it's extremely great structure. And actually, I would really think that it's worth, if you're a dedicated DM and you want some new ideas, this is a really great idea for D&D.
What does this game retail at?
So this retails at $80.
Wow. Do you know what it goes for on Amazon?
Yes. This was purchased for me by my parents as a gift for Christmas. Exactly. And it was $42.
Okay, so almost half off.
Yeah, and it is pricey.
We'll put a link to Amazon down below so you guys can check it out if you want. But I want to say one thing. It's a small box. It's not very large, but it's heavy. Oh my gosh.
It's packed.
This thing, you could use it for self-defense.
You could. It's great. So let's bust it out. So one of the things that's really nice is the art is fantastic, because it's done by a pure artist, like who has done art for reasons other than tabletop role playing games.
As we take this stuff out, I mean, clearly, dice are dice. We understand that you have to use them for what their purposes are. But then we have 4 players' decks. So how do these get used?
Sure.
in the game.
Right. So actually he's showing that. Let me talk about the dice real quick, and then we'll get into the So the dice symbols, you see an axe, you see an Ouroboros, which is a snake eating its tail. You can see that's the Ouroboros there. That's the snake eating its tail. And then there's an axe on there. That's for hitting and damage. And then there's the two swords. And so one of the things I will say is, and we're going to get into it. So let's talk about the combat. The combat is highly complex, and so it uses custom dice. You could run it with 6-sided dice. Of course, you would use numbers for symbols. It's difficult to do that with this box. You don't need to. It's excellent, and so basically, I read through the.
They give you a lot of dice in there too. So
they do. They give you lots of dice. To tell the truth, though. We are kind of doing we're doing a little bit of a review here. I read this book from cover to cover, and I'll say right now, it is a challenging combat system. It is a narrative system that players declare what they're going to do all simultaneously, and then the GM determines what he's going to do with the non-player characters, and then it all occurs. And you use these dice. So
it's like a free-for-all.
Exactly, and everybody has these combat cards, and it has armor in there, and it has -1s. Oh yeah, here's the attack cards.
Let me see the cards real quick.
Yeah, the defense cards. A whole slew of different items, and I will tell you right now, I really like this game, owning this game from an idea perspective, because one of the things I think it really does is it really makes you think twice about how you run your games and about adventurers. So in this, it's saying, hey, what if your adventurers had a purpose for everything they did? Every time they left their city, what if they were fighting for the lives? Yeah, exactly. So harvests are important, and protecting the city and making sure the scent border is always up is part of the city.
Well, they're living in a world where outside the city walls there are things that are just too massive for them to deal with as an individual. So it's like, oh, the Tarrasque is out there somewhere. What do you do? Oh, well, if you don't put this scent stuff out there, the Tarrasque is going to come and eat you.
Exactly. And so I would really suggest you buy this if you're an extremely dedicated game master and you want new ideas, because this game is packed with ideas. And the reason why is I'm going to talk about a dude right now. His name is right there. It's Luke Crane.
You're going to have to hold it for the light day.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Luke Crane. And I want to talk about Luke Crane in detail. Could you slide that bucket over a bit? So Luke Crane wrote Burning Wheel, all right? And I brought Burning Wheel today. This is Burning Wheel, all right? So I'm a huge fan of Luke Crane. I've been a fan of Luke Crane for a long time. Luke Crane is an absolutely brilliant tabletop role-playing game designer. And he is, in my opinion, the reason that Dungeon World exists, the reason that Apocalypse World exists, the reason that player agency has been around. Luke Crane was talking about player agency before five years before anybody used the term, right? So he's definitely like really deep cut, very, very skilled, brilliant role-playing game designer. And this is Burning Wheel. First, very few people, this is the rules for running Burning Wheel. It came out before Mouse Guard came out, and it was so brilliant, very few people played it, but almost every tabletop role-playing game designer out there has read Luke Crane's stuff. So Luke Crane wrote this, and sorry about that. So he wrote Burning Wheel, and this game runs off of Burning Wheel. So I will say right now, this is a fantastic game if you have 4 people who know tabletop role-playing games extremely well and all like alternative indie games. This would be a very hard game to run if you have a hack and slash group, or if you have groups who don't like to role play. This is 50 to 75% role playing with about 25% action. So it's really important that you understand that. The other thing, and let me just show you what else is in the box here. So it really has some fantastic stuff in it. It comes with let's go ahead and break that out. We'll show the stuff in order. The book itself is fantastic. It's really beefy. It is over 300 pages long. It's beautifully written. It has, like you can see, like the parchment. You know, if it looks like D&D 5th, this was actually put out before D&D 5th. So I think there are ideas in here from D&D 5th. So you have the rule book. It's 300 pages. It's not a condensation of the rule book. It is the rule book. Really, really fantastic. It comes with wonderful maps, and this is a map of all the towns that exist. And one thing that's really awesome is on this, there are actually towns that are like crossed out. Like I said, this town was destroyed because a wolf got there. One wolf can destroy an entire town, you know, if the scent borders aren't maintained. It's D&D at a really different scale. It comes with new rules and new missions because you can buy the game as a hardback rule book, and so this is actually done later after the game was built.
So this is like a deluxe
deluxe version, exactly. And I highly recommend getting the box set rather than getting the hardback book. Yeah, absolutely, because you get things that you won't get. And then last, fantastic.
Not quite last.
Yeah, that's true. This is beautiful.
The DM screen, a tiny DM screen.
And what's awesome is right here it shows you, the scale, like of the animals, from the insects to the baby snakes, all the way up to the black bear and the moose, and just the hierarchy of those. And then it has.
I kind of find that hilarious that a moose is one of the monsters.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's really fascinating, and also it's really fantastic getting one game that you actually have. I mean, how many games come with the DM screen right in the box? It's pretty rare.
And now on to the actual last thing. You have some printed up sheets of reference. There's either the actual player character sheets, which is on a peel off situation, and then the Mouse Guard GM sheet. So this is where you can basically make a reference for running your game, and each of these comes with lots of sheets ready to use. So it looks pretty interesting and fantastic.
It really is. And Mouse Guard is also, I think it's really fantastic, and it really isn't Redwall, because one of the things that David Petersen did that's really brilliant, and this is where indie art meets tabletop role-playing games, is David Petersen does something that's brilliant. Every creature he draws into here that is not an antagonist is cute as the dickens, right? So they actually showed, like, when you held up the character sheet, it showed like here's your mouse, and you would put its sword here, and
it literally says on the character sheet, draw your mouse.
Exactly. Yeah, and it shows like a body of a mouse, and you could say this goes here, and they give you an outline, and it's everything's cute, like Gerber baby cute, and he takes it dead serious. Like, he's like, here's the halberd, here's the damage, and the comic is written exactly the same way. He draws it so that the creatures look cute, but it's like watching House of Cards if it was with cats. It's brilliant. The other thing that I really can't stress enough, if you're a dedicated GM, this is a great resource to get. There's some brilliant ideas in here. One of them is cloaks that are shaded by color that actually determine what you do, and so when they're trained, based on what they've exhibited,
it's their ranking system.
Exactly.
Okay.
And so basically, it's not exactly like a belt, but like if you have these skills, you'll get a red cloak, and if you have these skills, you'll get a purple cloak. And so it's a completely different world, a completely different approach to a fantasy role playing game. Really, really quite interesting, I think.
Yeah, well, yeah, that just speaks to like he's developing this culture, and amongst their soldiery, that's how they identify each other.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which it's kind of interesting because it leads to like, what if you switch cloaks? Like you can subterfuge that way.
Absolutely.
Because of the obvious, the obvious is not so obvious now.
Yeah, and there's a lot of intrigue in the game. There's a lot of politics in the game, all which comes straight from the story. So if you're a fan of the story, it's kind of a no-brainer. If you've never heard of Mouse Guard and you're a dedicated GM and you have $40 extra, I highly recommend purchasing it. It really is fantastic. I'm thrilled to own it. And also, if you've not really heard about Luke Crane, look up Luke Crane, look up some of the stuff he's created. He is an absolute genius when it comes to tabletop role-playing games, and he's part of our history, too.
I mistakenly hear Burning Wheel, and for some reason I just automatically think Wheel of Time and then like discard it. And well, I don't know why I even did that, but but now that I think about it, I'm like, oh, I've seen other people mention Burning Wheel, pretty often, and for some reason I just heard Wheel and went Time of Wheel because there's also a game for that as well.
There absolutely is. Yeah, it's not played a lot. It was an interesting one, but Burning Wheel is really a very, it's really not played a lot, but I really do feel it has a strong influence on Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, without question. And so did Luke Crane. Just his design element, all of the things. I think a lot of the indie ideas came into Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, and so this is part of its heritage.
Nice.
Yeah.
So, guys, any of you guys playing Mouse Guard? What do you think of the review? If you have anything that we missed, you want to add to it, or Scott missed, I should say, because we don't actually know anything. Thanks, Scott, for sharing it with us and with the viewers. Like I said, if you have anything to say about it, add in the comments, or add it, like, share, and subscribe.
Thank you.
You can check out funny memes over on Facebook.
So until next time,
Stay nerdy.